When this show first came on, this dude was one of the baddest dudes in town. Everyone knew, don't mess with this dude. But in this episode, the sisters are gonna mess with Red.
TV talk with the sisters. TV talk. TV talk with the sisters. TV talk with the sisters. What they have to say. What they have to say. TV talk with the sisters.
Welcome to TV Talk with the Sisters. I'm Karen.
And I'm Regina.
And we are here to talk TV. One of those shows heading into the sunset is The Blacklist. Oh, the stories of Red Reddington have entertained for 10 seasons. In 2023, they are hanging up their hats. There have been many cast changes, but the show really hung in there. In the original show, Red is on the FBI's most wanted list, and he turns himself in to a particular agent, Elizabeth King. And we spend the next 10 seasons trying to figure out the crazy relationship there. But over those 10 seasons, Red has helped capture FBI, some of the toughest, meanest criminals there ever was. And everybody was always wondering what was Red's end game. Haha, season 10 told us the story.
I love this show because of the premise of it. It was always what is he doing? Like how is he connected to Elizabeth? Why is he helping them catch criminals? And then you get caught up in the different criminals because there was always interesting criminals they were chasing, you know?
Yep, they were always really fascinating. And they weren't like your ordinary criminals. They were just like, and you would just sit there with Red telling you the story of this particular person. I mean, when Red got in your business, he got all the way in your business from when you was born until whenever you hung up your head.
Yep. 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 That was the thing about Red. I mean, he was let's face it, he was a killer,
He was.
but he had this way about him that kind of drew you in. I guess because the way he went about his business. And again, there was always that secret side. Like, why did he turn himself in? What does he hope to gain? Why is he helping them collect all these killers? I mean, it was always that question mark when watching that show.
And the other thing about Red, when you start talking about like bad guys, killers, and all of those things, Red did not look like that intimidating, creepy, kind of crazy killer. He looked like, probably some old dude you would see sitting on a bench in the park feeding the birds or something. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, he was very, very sharp. He was always dressed just impeccable. The things he talked about, the way he carried himself, he just didn't come across as this grisly killer, which again, it drew you in.
It did. It did. And the other thing this show did, and this show did it from the onset, it had different people in there. There were people who looked like me in there. There were women, there were men, there were women. And the cool thing about some of them is they had some of the strangest roles. Remember Mr. Kaplan? I
Yes,
love Mr. Kaplan.
yes, yes. There was always some weird character coming out. Again, just these people who I guess knew Red. Red knew. He drew him into his universe while he was working for the FBI. And then the FBI agents, I liked the FBI agents.
And we went through a bunch of them too. I mean, it was like, woo, one after the other after the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Elizabeth had stayed strong until I think it was the eighth or ninth season. Megan Boone said, "Okay, y'all, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this anymore." But they did
Yeah,
everything. I mean, they did almost everything with this character. It's not like, she was like the good girl always chasing the bad guy. Sometimes she became the bad girl. I was like, woo, child, you wearing me out. And so her character evolved into a whole lot of different things.
I think that's what kind of turned me off because I'm going to confess I didn't stay till the end of all the seasons. Once Elizabeth started acting un-Elizabeth like in my mind, I got kind of tired of that, and I thought, okay, I'm out. I don't want to see this. I like the original premise, and I'm not going to spoil it for y'all, but it gets very interesting later on.
It really does. But the one thing that I do love, especially like in season 10, Dembe, who in the beginning is Red's, what would you call him? I mean, the term is like sidekick, but I mean in there he's more like,
His
uh
bouncer.
yeah, his bouncer, his helper, who just kind of knows all the stuff about him. Dembe uh makes a complete change. Um and this is a spoiler alert for some of y'all, but he becomes an FBI agent. And I was like, oh, did babe, he done got a promotion. He done got a promotion. But the cool thing is, I mean, it shows you that the character evolves. He is living through
Yeah.
all of these things. He is seeing all the things that they're doing, and he makes some changes in his own life. He says, you know what, this is what I have to do, and he does it, and it's really good. And so I'm like, look at Dembe. All right, Dembe, you go on and get that job.
Well, Dembe was always Red's conscious, so to speak.
Yes. Yes.
He had been rolling with Red, killing people, stealing money, doing all that. But he was still his moral center, which is kind of weird to say when you have two killers running around. But he was. So him going over to the other side, a little weird to me, but I can see that. So it's almost like the story ends with everybody kind of flipping their roles almost.
Yep. Yep. Except for Wrestler. Wrestler stays the agent the whole time.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. He was a do-gooder.
he was a do-gooder. And the other thing I loved about season 10 is they kind of start wrapping up some stuff.
Okay.
I appreciate when somebody, especially when you've invested so much time in a story, that when
Uh-huh.
the storytellers decide, okay, let's wrap this up. Let's
Yeah.
let everybody get, somewhere or something, or you get a sort of like a final view of them instead of leaving you hanging in the middle of a cliffhanger, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I loved how they just started like tying up the loose ends, and because after Elizabeth leaves the show, I ain't gonna tell you how, but after she leaves the show, her daughter is raised by Harold and his wife, which is also another wild story. And so it's really interesting to watch Harold raise this little girl into like a teenager. I was thinking, man, we've been watching this show a long time, watching this little girl grow up and raise her to teenager, and watching Red play the grandfather. And I'm gonna tell y'all, and I'm slow. It took me till season 10 to realize that the little girl was calling him Pinky. And I was thinking, oh, everybody else calls him Red, but she calls him. I get it. It's a granddaddy thing. It's a granddaddy thing.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, and they could probably do a spin-off with Harold and his wife and that little girl maybe becoming an agent later in the foots of
Hmm.
her mom or something, or a super spy. I don't know. It's so many storylines could spin off of that because all those characters had really interesting stories,
Oh,
the
they
good
did.
characters
They
and the
did.
bad characters. And
Yes.
it was just always a weird dynamic for me between Red and Elizabeth. Is he her father? Is he not? Is he just, that uncle that, loved her mama and, now love her? It was all just so weird. But it worked. It worked in that story,
It did,
until it didn't.
right? And let me
Yes,
tell
I
you, James
like it.
Spader played the hell out that role. Let me
Oh
tell you.
yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. Hands down.
He took Red and he bent it into all different shapes, and I was like,
Hands down.
wow.
Hands down. He made Red Reddington iconic.
He did. He became symbolic of things that you would do to people. I'm a red
Yes.
red into you.
Yes. And that is not good because Red would do horrible things to people.
Now there are a few things that did make me sad, even though like they took some of Red's characters and they kind of finished up the story. And I'm not gonna get you into that because it was really good. Because some of the people you would see throughout the seasons who were his helpers kind of come back in the end. It's kind of like, dude, you've been turning us in, what? And so he kind of Red has to kind of deal with that. But I think there's some things, some stories that I would have liked to see them gone back and kind of wrap up a little better, like the story of Aram. He
Yeah.
kind of like he is totally burned out and he's gone and he's like, I ain't coming back. And he just leaves and it's like, man, I would have liked to have seen how that, what they would have really done with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, like I said, they flipped characters and they did some stuff. They did some stuff with this story. And so it is really interesting in how they told this. Like I say, over 10 seasons. Amazing.
Yeah. They kind of kept it going, but you knew eventually it was going to have to
Yes.
come to an end because he was working off a list. And there's
Yes.
only so many names on the list that he had a connection to. Because
Yep.
remember, he was only helping them catch criminals that he had a connection to. So you always knew, okay, what's this end game going to be with him?
Yes. And let me just say, I'm not gonna ruin that last episode for you, but they showed you. And the thing is, all I'm gonna say is it's one of those things where usually it's a lot of action and you're watching things but you don't really pay attention. In the last couple of episodes, listen to what they are saying
Okay.
because their words are very important.
If I dare to wander back in that pool, I will make sure I do that. But for the people listening, I would recommend starting at the beginning because then you get the weight of the story and how all the
Yes.
characters interact, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, because like I say, that last season he goes back and revisits some of the folks that you've seen throughout the other 9 seasons. People who've been helpers, people who've helped him get things, people he's done stuff to, and it's like it all just kind of comes back in the wash. And so you get to see these characters again, and you kind of get to see a resolution to some of these things. And so it's kind of like,
Okay. Okay.
all right, Red, I get that.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
And so for this show, y'all can tell I'm all in. James Spader, uh, what is it? I, I am so bad at name. Hisham Tawak, the one who played Dembe, he's amazing, amazing. You
Yeah.
just watching his character evolve throughout the 9 seasons is awesome. Diego, who was wrestler, loved him. My favorite was Harry Lennox, but you know what? Harry Lennox is always gonna be from the Five Heartbeats. I don't care what role he played. He gonna always be from the high Five Heartbeats.
Oh goodness. So
I know, and he was on this show way longer than he was in that movie, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I did. I'm all in too. Up until that season where Elizabeth lost her mind and all that crazy stuff started happening. But I like I said, I liked it. I did. I liked it, and we just recommend that you guys check it out and see what you think because you get to see all these characters, good and bad, evolve, and you can decide if they did the right thing with them or the wrong thing with them. But it's an interesting storyline,
Yes.
nonetheless, and the criminals are very interesting that they chase.
Yes, and I think as I say, the writers and producers have been true to that story, and I can appreciate it. Well,
Yes.
we want to thank you guys for listening to our podcast. You can catch us on Facebook or what formerly is known as Twitter,
X.
on X, and let us know what you think about the Blacklist. because it's one of the ones that we love, and I think they rolled into the sunset well.
And thank y'all for listening.
Bye.
TV Talk is produced by Karen J. Anderson, music by Karen's friend Dave, and Regina Anderson just shows up to talk.